Yo, Natsu here. Welcome back to the next part of What If Deku Could Learn. Right now, if you listen closely to the background music, if I actually stop talking... Damn, I timed that well. I decided to try and put some small background music for when I'm not talking. If I'm trying to think, so that it doesn't have an awkward silence of a few seconds. So, yeah. Now you have one of my favorite songs that will play in the background for when I stop talking. One thing that I had said in one of my previous videos was that I was going to do a two-part what if for a story that someone basically had asked me to do, but that the only way I saw it going was way too fast for everything, and would have basically amounted to only 2 hours of video. So basically, I was supposed to do that today, or I should say yesterday, but I didn't do a video yesterday, so that was forgotten. But I just found out that this what if was already made by someone else, and I actually listened to the entire, what if video. And he basically made the exact same thing that I wanted to do, just with a bit less time on it. So basically, yeah, that was completely useless. And basically, that means I won't be doing it. Instead, I'm just going to continue this series. So, yeah. Also, I don't know if you're going to think the music is too high and that you can actually hear it above my own words. So basically, it's literally on one kosh above being soundless. So, yeah, if it sounds too much while I'm talking, I won't actually use it anymore. But anyway. So, in the last part, Deku had, to put it simply, started adventuring as I think I said D rank, right on the cusp of C rank, and has been told to go do a few quests to actually, get C rank, and then do some more just to raise his own rank further. So, now we're going to do a small time skip of around 3 weeks, which is basically the time it took Deku to do, one C rank quest and a few D rank quests to basically get to C rank. But we're going to only be doing the C rank one, which is, I'm basically just going to say how he got back to the guild with his C rank one being completed for him to actually start the trial to get to C rank. And to be honest, it's basically just him getting another quest to do while someone else is watching him. And so, yeah. Deku basically gets the request to simply go hunt a few monsters that actually live in a certain lake, close to the forest where they were where he appeared before and met the other group. And the ones who were placed to actually look at him do the quest is actually the guy that looks like Bakugo, and the other guy that can actually grow his body, since basically both of them are actually classed as C rank. Why did I have rogue in head? Wait, what was the name? Basically, those that do reconnaissance missions to basically go see if some type of monster is there or not. Basically, those that have the ability to sense monsters or the ability to hide their presence so that they can actually go around to check specific monsters. And the rank for those ones is basically, well, no matter how weak those things are, their power doesn't matter in itself. What does matter is simply their ability to scout stuff. There's the word. They are C-rank scout, with the one who has the ability to sense presence actually just on the cusp of B rank. But since he also has his normal, well, adventurer's license, so instead of being a scout, he also does normal mission, his scouting rank doesn't raise as fast as it should. But yeah, basically they are, well, both C rank scouts, so they were basically both set to look, well, at Deku doing his quest by not getting in the way. And so basically they were there for observation. And one thing I forgot to say about the Bakugo guy's quirk, well, Bakugo looking guy quirk, he doesn't only have the ability to do water bomb, basically. Another thing that comes with his quirk is that he can also be touching water and actually feeling through it, or just touching a certain amount of water and basically make it explode as well. So he doesn't directly need to create the water, but for his quirk to work, he can also just touch other water and feel what's in it, or just making it explode. So basically, his scout rank is basically for, well, his scouting use is basically for scouting stuff that are within water, so lakes, rivers, or the ocean, if they bring him close enough to where he needs to look at, because he does have a range limit for when he tries to feel what's underwater. But yeah, basically making those two perfect for, well, a lake mission, well, quest. Basically, they asked Deku, well, let me try that again. They asked Deku if he had a transportation method, sorry about that, for, well, going there. Which basically, by this point, a few people knew that Deku could fly, but they didn't know the extent that he could do it. And basically, he just said that, well, if he hadn't needed to wait for them, he would have actually went there in under 3 hours. When normally with, well, a carriage, which is monster drawn by a specific monster made for speed, takes a few days. Basically making, well, the few people who hadn't understanding that by, well, his speed in some of the missions, since they're literally on one side of a continent, though not directly next to the ocean, they are far from it, but they are completely on one side of a continent, with most of the missions Deku took being on the complete opposite side. So, the only reason it was so long for him to get back, well, to do his quest, were being those, and only a few amount of people knew where his quests were for, so normally people just thought it was for stuff close to them, and that it just took him that long to go there and get back. When in reality, it's literally because where he needs to go, even with his flight ability, which he doesn't push to extreme limits, just to not attract too much attention. Basically just taking him a few days to go and a few days to come back, as well as the time it takes him to actually do the quest. Basically, his only reason for doing quests that were as far away as possible were to literally test his, ability against the highest kind of monsters from different regions, and mostly to just because he was looking for monsters that had specific types of powers to actually eat and try to copy. Well, not try, the moment he eats something, he copies it. But anyway, basically a phoenix type monster that Deku heard could, be reborn, quote unquote, which he found out after eating it, not letting it live or be reborn, that it's basically just a clone, a soul cloning technique that basically clones the soul and the body to be reformed from the ash. So basically it's not staying alive or being reborn, it just creates a clone of itself to basically keep on going. And normally, since when one of those things do that, they basically die, turning to ash near completely, leaving nothing behind except for the crystal inside of it. Basically the monster core that people take away after a few minutes, hours, to days, depending on what happened and where it is. Well, they just kind of come back from the ash, making people think that they just had the ability to be reborn. Another monster that he found... all of the things I'm explaining now are things that Deku can do afterward. Though the soul cloning one, he is a bit iffy with that one. Because he's thinking that he could most likely, if he creates a clone that has that quirk, since when he creates a clone, they don't have all of his powers, only the powers he wants to give them. So when he passes a parallel mind to it, the parallel mind only has access to certain capacities. So basically he's thinking that if he gives those to his parallel minds, he could theoretically basically send them to missions, they die, people stop thinking about it, and they come back from there and can just keep going. That's what he's thinking. Though what it would do would actually be to just send the mind back to Deku, and the clone that would be created would not respond to Deku anymore and would just be a perfect clone of the parallel mind, as well as of the body Deku made it, which wouldn't actually be connected to Deku anymore, and it would be its own thing. Which, yes, if you understood what I mean by this, could happen and might happen. But the spot where it's going to happen might surprise you. Sorry about that. Though at the same time, he still has the ability to destroy it, even if it's not linked to him, because he can still feel where it is. And if needs be, can kill it. So, and by killing it, I mean absorbing it into himself using his unnamed skill that he called Gluttony. Basically destroying the new soul that was created by making a copy of his parallel mind, which he can actually leave the soul alive if he wants to, but he knows it would be a bad thing for different types of things. Example, he won't keep the soul of a human alive, since he found that out. Basically, the way he does it is actually with that skill, when using his unnamed skill that he calls Gluttony, he can actually, well, clone at the same time the soul, so that he can ask it question. That's how he can keep a soul alive in his body temporarily, so that he can get, well, information. That's something he only got when getting that skill. The two other things he gained, because yes, he did eat all of the monsters that he found on the quest, but not all of them had either useful things that could be given to him. Well, no, everything can be given to him, but basically if he already has something that's similar, it does give it to him, but it doesn't really change anything for him for now. Example, right now he has 8 different quirk abilities that are from monsters that are regeneration. Yes, they do boost a tiny bit more his natural regeneration from the other skills that he had before, but basically they could just be seen as useless. And since when he makes a clone he doesn't and give them the ability, he doesn't lose it, it's basically just a copy of what he has. He cannot just do something like, oh, I give you that regeneration ability, I don't have it anymore, while you have it now. That wouldn't work. It would just be a clone of that regeneration. Though later he will find something to do with those. But anyway. Damn, that tree's shaking. The worst part is there's not even that much wind. Anyway. Deku basically got 2 more abilities, which one of them is pretty funny for him, since he already was thinking he could maybe do that if he wanted to, which actually is water transformation, basically allowing him to become, well, pure water that normally would leave the monster core intact from the monster he got it from, but for him he just transformed purely into water that still has consciousness and wouldn't actually be damaged unless someone tries to evaporate it or freeze it, which anyway would not hurt Deku that much. He would just become pure, well, his magicules would just change shape, or formation I should say, and basically still be able to control it. So yeah, basically if Deku turns in that, nobody would be able to do anything to him. So yay! So a skill that lets him live again, a skill that turns him into a little immortal thing, and the last one is a bit more basic. It's literally just the ability to harden. So yeah, Kirishima copied. Nah, joke. But basically, a type of monster that normally hides himself by hardening itself and then looking like the Rocky Mountain or boulders that are around it. Normally, when turning into its hardened form, that monster cannot actually move anymore, since everything is basically hardened, even in his insides. And since those monsters basically just go on instinct, they basically harden completely no matter what. Deku, on the other hand, could just do exactly like Kirishima and only harden the outside part of his body, as well as some of the inside, to make him tougher but still being able to move. Basically, because he has more intelligence, he is able to think of it like that and basically do it. Though one thing he discovered is that he now has the instinct of most of the things he ate for a while. And by instinct, I mean basically just the most basic instinct, like protection, feeding, sleeping, and yeah, breeding. So basically he can just completely remove them temporarily, but basically it's something that if he isn't careful will just come out. Though it's useful in some places, example, he is truly afraid, his the most basic instinct from different things he ate will come out, basically using the skills and quirks he got on instinct, as if the monster itself was trying to protect itself. And it can basically create natural combination without him actually wanting to create them. So this is one of the things that he is hopeful about and will happen. So yeah, basically with all of those, with the other two not doing a lot, well, the other two quests, I mean, but after that, well, on top of every other monsters he ate, with the regeneration coming from slimes, actually, which is funny, since he discovered that not all slime have the regeneration. And basically only 3 types of slime actually gave him that quirk. But yeah, as well as a quite big amount of other things he got that are basically just making his list of quirks being extremely big for no reason. In fact, he found a way to just kind of make files for each different types of skill if they can be amassed under a single point. So basically, mind will have thought acceleration, parallel mind, parallel thought, and everything like that. Regeneration will have basically every regeneration type ability, and you get the point. So basically right now, yeah, he has a lot. On top of the 2 others he had beforehand, on top of his natural one that he always used. So yeah. So now his quest, like I said, is to go to a little lake to hunt a certain type of monsters that have actually been breeding out of control in another place, and so have basically changed to go to that lake, which was bigger. His single mission is actually to eradicate half of the population and basically make them migrate back to the previous one. Basically making them think that, oh, this place isn't livable, we have to go back. Basically acting on their instinct and then breeding less, because now they know that, oh, if we stay in that one, we cannot outbreed our previous limits, because if we do, we'll have the same problem happen again. Though it will also create another problem that will come up later in the story, but whatever. In fact, that problem isn't really going to be a problem in itself, since Deku will find a way to actually profit from that. Well, profit. He's going to find a way to do something that will help him be stronger, quote unquote, and basically be better. Oh yeah, also, I forgot to say that, yeah, the weapons Deku requested from the guy with the appraisal quirk has been made. He got them, and now, well, he basically doesn't use them at all right now, since they are for other people that he will give to. But yeah. So basically, since Deku needs to wait for those guys and he cannot actually just take them and fly them all the way there without hurting them, he decided to tell them that, oh, I have an idea. Basically telling them that they will disappear for a few seconds, and for them it will only be a few seconds, while here it will be, well, a few hours until he get there. Basically, a few people ask him what he means, and Deku literally just sends them to his, well, small dimension. Basically, in the spot where time is going so slowly that they are basically frozen for nearly ever. Basically, entire years outside of the small world can happen with them only moving from a few minutes. So, well, basically if they are in that specific zone. In the rest, a single minute in the outside world, or worlds I should say, will be years and years and years. Well, only a few years, because there is a quote-unquote speed limit that is depending on Deku's magic. But because of how high his magic is right now, yeah, he can make it go way fast. So, yeah, Deku basically just kind of sends them there, basically leaves the city, flies all the way to the spot, takes them out, where for them it literally just passed in a few seconds, where they basically had time to look at what was around them, seeing a few things, and then being brought back out. Basically, they asked Deku how much he has in that place, with Deku just telling them that he doesn't know. He basically uses it as a storage, but also as a trash place. Lying, obviously. And telling them that normally he wouldn't send people there, but since stuff can live there, he is able to place them there temporarily. So, basically making them tell him that it is a good way of moving people. And since they only were there for a few seconds, while he was able to get here in a few hours, well, you would save costs on water, food, and a lot of other things. With Deku then saying that, yeah, true. But anyway. And then basically asked if this was the right location. Basically, them saying we won't know, we weren't moving with you, until Deku said, yeah, no, I'm more or less asking that because of the amount of monsters. With them basically looking at the lake, and basically seeing massive lizard-like monsters fighting with other types of monsters. Basically just Deku asking if this is truly what it should be, with them saying that it shouldn't be that fast, and that there's more than one type of monsters that shouldn't be there. Deku just saying, so I just need to cut out the population and make them all leave, or kill them all if they don't want to. With the guy saying that, yeah, that's basically what the quest is. But since now there's more types of monsters, the quest is for a higher type of adventurer. With Deku just saying, give me a minute. Basically cutting his fingers, letting a drop of his blood fall in. Basically to hide the fact that he's actually going to just increase the resistance to, well, electric type attack to basically all of the monsters he doesn't want to kill. Basically using the magicules that he liberates from his blood, basically turning all of his blood into magicules and nanomachines, and basically temporarily changes the DNA of every single monster that should not die, as well as a few of the other monsters that needs to die, and then basically zaps the entire lake in a single, well, moment. Basically sending so much power through his hand and literally in the water that every single monsters, even those that have a natural resistance to it, die. The only ones that survive are those that had their vitality increased by Deku, as well as having added lightning immunity. So basically meaning that electricity or lightning cannot hurt them no matter how much you put on them. Basically, Deku said he might have overdid it, and basically just kind of use his unnamed skill that he calls gluttony. I should stop calling it that. Well, anyway, later in this part, the skill will actually have a name anyway, so it shouldn't matter too much. Because yes, today should be a longer one. So, yeah. Deku basically uses his unnamed skill that he calls gluttony to eat everything that is dead in the lake. Which does take also stuff that he shouldn't have taken, because he basically just made the magicules and Nan and magic, and basically you get the point. Basically take everything that wasn't alive or natural to the environment. So basically taking stuff like Adventurers Corp, items that were also from Adventurers, crystals that had formed at the bottom of the lake, the corpse of other monsters from a long time ago, everything that he just killed, as well as a few other things that were, well, basically on a river that was flowing in the lake at another part of it, basically going a bit upward and grabbing a few things from there as well. In particular, an item that was being searched for by a group of adventurers that never had actually failed a quest, which yes, will come back to bite Deku a bit later, or I should say help him, but you'll see what I mean. So Deku basically felt that he was eating stuff that wasn't actually supposed to be his food, and basically every item and other stuff like that that wasn't the corpse of something was actually sent to his small dimension, which he will look at in a bit. Basically, right now, he just kind of said to him, sorry about that, for some reason I keep burping right now, and it's annoying me, because I don't want you to sound the freaking sound of that, so I have to kind of, quiet it down. So yeah, it kind of annoys me. So sometimes when you just kind of hear me stop suddenly and then continue or say sorry, that's what's happening. But yeah, basically Deku talked to himself and basically every other parallel minds inside of his body all basically reacted in a single way. Well, that was a lot. Because right then, he actually got 8 new skills, plus a massive amount of other skills that are copies. Also by 8 new skills, I mean like 8 skills that are new, but with a huge amount of copies from, the amount that he just ate. Which I won't say right now, because, most of them are actually useless to Deku. Example, water breathing, and other stuff like that. So, yeah. I don't really need to say anything. They're just new for him. But except for 2 of them, he already has the same ability that are either weaker, that he just made stronger thanks to having a new one, or he had them stronger and they became nearly useless when he just got those ones. So, yeah. The 2 new ones that are actually new are actually one that does help with his, mind, which is actually slow time. Mind speeds heat up or mind stopping, whatever. Basically, he can kind of, mentally, he can accelerate his mind so fast that for 10 seconds, everything around him seems stopped completely for him to think. Then add that with his other things, and yeah, you can see how the ability can be pretty powerful. That quirk can be, if he trains it, he can make it longer. Basically, the only problem with the power is that it needs 1 minute to recharge, and if he tries to use it again, he just basically gets a massive headache, which could be bad in the middle of battle, and even worse when you think that he has 17 problem minds, soon 18, and can basically put a single second into 80 of them. Which is really bad for Deku in itself if he gets a headache that will last this long. But yeah, in itself, it could become something extremely great if he finds a way to reduce the countdown or increase the amount of time he can use it for. The amount of time that it gives him, I should say. So basically, he finds it really good. He got it like 2 or 3 times from specific corpses at the bottom of the lake. There weren't more, so he didn't have it more times. The other one he found useful is one that, quite simply, he thought he could go back to the one with to the world with nanomachines to get, which is actually Dragon's fiery body. Basically, a power that he saw in a single dragon that he fought there, which actually allowed that dragon to turn its entire body, cover its entire body with flames, allowing it to basically tank more damage from stuff that isn't resistant to fire, as well as damage things that aren't resistant to fire by just hitting them. Yeah, Deku just got that. Twice, if I'm being honest. So, right now, he's just thinking to himself that he just got a great harvest on top of everything else that is in his small dimension that he will find quite interesting, let's just say it like that. In particular, one that I said will bring him quote-unquote trouble / help him a bit later. So, Deku, how much time did... 38? What the hell? I've been walking that fast? Okay, I'm going to go sit down somewhere to basically not take as much time, because I was supposed to make this video last around 2 hours long. So, 40 minutes only is quite a bit of a downgrade compared to what I'm supposed to give you. Let's just say it like that. So, yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah, basically, they ask him how much he killed, and basically he just says that for every species that weren't supposed to be there, he killed almost 90% of the lizard-looking one, 80% of the anglerfish-looking ones, which are basically bigger than humans, and he calls them anglerfish, but they basically more look like, a massive head, the light thing from the anglerfish, two massive legs to hold up their bodies, and two arms with claws to basically destroy things. Basically, there's 4 types of monsters that should be there. And basically, those 2, he killed about 80% of them. Basically, what he leaves them with is around the normal amount of population they should have when no babies are around. So basically, making them, weaker than what they should be for staying there, but just as strong as they should be where they came from. Since they all know that what happened was a complete migration of that race. So basically no monster of that race were left where they should be. For the anglerfish looking ones, he actually just took it about the same, which they normally have a bit more, but it shouldn't create any problems right now. So, it won't create any problems right now. It will a bit later, once again, just like for the lizard-looking ones. Then for the 2 last types of monsters, he actually exterminated almost 90% of them. Because there was a lot more of those guys compared to the lizardmen and anglerfish looking ones. So, yeah, he took out more. And from what he had read in the book, he should have even cut down half of what's left for them to be back at a normal level. But just to not make it look too bad, he didn't kill all of that amount, just because he didn't know. Also, if you want to know the exact amount of, skills / quirks he got in that moment, that were duplicates, let's just say that in total, the amount of monsters he killed were in the, literally, in the upper half of the triple digit. And all of them at least gave him a single quirk. Which, remember, not all monsters have the same quirk, since quirk can mutate a lot more easily in that world. So, basically, yes, they can have quirks that are related to each other, but don't actually have, too much difference, or can be extremely different, but have around the same use. Example, all the lizard men had stuff that were basically either connected to water or stuff connected to healing. So, yeah. Deku's regeneration list went up by a lot in that moment, simply put. And so, yeah, it's kind of amazing for him. Though, because of how weak those regeneration type quirks are, even if he has a huge amount of them, they don't actually change anything. Also, when I refer to regeneration, I'm not saying all of those quirks are called regeneration. It's just that it's basically their normal usage. But, some of them are made specifically like arm regeneration. It can regenerate its arm extremely fast or over time. Others can be stuff like tail regeneration, head regeneration, basically meaning they can be killed by cutting their head, or other things like that. Basically, yes, you can have stronger quirks, but you basically need, they will be connected in some way to the quirk. So basically, from arm regeneration, you won't necessarily get another regeneration type quirk. You can have something that is connected to the arms itself. But if you start from something that can only heal dot, it will always create something that has the ability to heal. Basically making the entire population kind of has the same types of quirk, because normally for the lizard type population monsters, well, those one precisely, per groups there is a queen that will basically choose 4 or 5 male, breed with them, and make the next generation with a single queen with those. There is more than one female, but one is the queen, the one that breeds. And basically it makes so that most lizard type monsters from that race will simply be stuck with regeneration type quirks, as well as their natural other abilities from that type, from that race, that were basically forged over countless generations, which aren't directly related to the quirks itself. But those don't change, so obviously the only difference per monster is the quirk. So basically, for those monsters, he got a lot of regeneration. From the anglerfish ones, he mostly got stuff connected to water. And you get the point. So basically, once that was done, they basically were ready to head back. Though Deku said that he was going to wait here for, well, to see if they actually try to go away, or if they keep staying there, which would make him need to actually remove more of the population so that they would actually leave. So, obviously, they kind of had to let him do that, since if he doesn't, well, the quest wouldn't actually be able to be counted as, well, accomplished. Since, if you think about it, the quest itself is to find a way to relocate the monsters that shouldn't be around. So if the quirk fails, well, in itself, he doesn't get the reward and he cannot pass to C rank. So basically he tells them, well, he basically gives them enough food to last, well, until they get back. Since on foot it's about a week's time, and with a coach it's around, well, yeah, with a coach it's basically 3 days. So, yeah. Basically, since they are able to fight, since both of them are in a C-rank adventurers party, as well as being C-rank scouts, well, in itself they shouldn't have any problems anywhere. So, yeah. Deku stays there for a week, which during that time he does look at nearly everything he got from the bottom of the lake. He did separate a few skeletons from the rest. Example, I said he got 2 flaming body quirk. There was actually 3 more skeletons that could have gotten him that skilled, that quirk. Just like for the other thing that I said he got 4 of, there were more bodies, again, of that type of monsters that he did separate. Basically, for every monster that he took, he kept 3 bodies intact in that world. And basically everything else, that wasn't a body, he just kind of kept it in that world instead of sending it to his stomach anyway. So, basically, right now, well, he's just looking at stuff. He basically stopped the slowing down time to a crawl just around him, basically allowing him to move as fast as he would normally do in that world, but only around himself, so that what he's looking at are still stopped in time, kind of. Well, compared to him. So, well, basically the way it is that... okay, how do I explain that specific part correctly? Since I did try to explain it in the last part, but I think I did a really bad job. So let me explain it like this. In that small dimension, every part of that dimension is placed with a multiplier or divider of time relative to the outside world. So basically, he was able to, well, around that specific zone, slow down time compared to the outside time to around I think it's called an attosecond per second compared to the outside world. And an attosecond is what a second is. Well, an attosecond is to a second what a second is to a few, I think what it's called is billion years. So basically, it's literally almost stopped time perfectly. Though when he did send those two other guys, just to make it not look as if he teleported them, he did slow it down so that a few seconds could pass in the 3 hours he was going there. Which afterward he turned back to basically an attosecond per second. You can just check on Google if you want what an attosecond is. But yeah, basically just think that if someone was able to go attosecond by attosecond, feeling like minutes, he would see the world going so slow that not even passing in front of a camera for a few seconds would actually leave a mark on the picture. That's how fast it would be. So, yeah. Just think of it like that. Basically, what he was looking at was, well, nearly everything. Let's be honest. And one in particular, which was the item that he had taken by accident from the upper river, not a wiver, that's a different, sorry about that, but a wiver is a different thing. And yes, by that I mean that it would be the Owo talk. And I don't want to talk like that. In fact, I find it annoying. But yeah, basically, that item, as he discovered, is quite simply a small world in itself. Well, small world. Basically, what it is a ball that inside of it, well, basically it's kind of a crystal, with inside of it life forms that are extremely small and live in the jelly-like substance that is inside the crystal. Though the crystallized form around it is basically like our atmosphere for that small place. So basically what it is in itself is the entire existence of multiple types of living beings, which in itself isn't actually like a true world. Think of it more as an egg. So basically, everything that's inside of that egg are babies of a certain race. And the two adventurers that were set to find it, which he's actually going to find out soon, since he's still sticking around for an entire week, is looked at by some adventurers to actually farm those monsters, which are the entire next generation of species. With that species being extremely angry right now because one of their eggs is stolen. Since that species basically makes a few eggs per generation, which a single generation can last for that species, well, quite close to human with 100 years to 150 years, so a bit further even. And they basically make around 4 eggs in their lifetimes from the singular female per generation. Well, quote unquote. Since basically every time a new generation lives, the older ones can still make babies, but normally don't. But basically from the youngest generation, this egg just happened. So if that egg is actually lost, the older generations can make an egg to basically replace it, but normally they don't. So right now, yeah, all of that race is basically mad and looking for that egg, which was stolen by, well, someone with a teleportation quirk to try and bring it to a certain guild who wanted to, like I said, make a farm for those monsters. Which means that, well, wherever the egg goes, nearly the entire species will be going for the egg. Basically able to feel the general direction of where it is, no matter how far it is in the world. So, yeah, they're basically coming from another continent right now to hunt people who took the egg. And since the egg was basically dropped in a river because of an accident, another party was basically tasked with collecting it, which is the reason why right now the adventurers are basically coming towards Deku. Basically, when he goes into that small dimension, to not make it look like he's not there, he basically just makes a clone with one of his parallel minds that can contact him, that basically just looks out. And right now, a group of adventurers are actually coming towards him on the last day he's supposed to stay here, because he did see that most of the monsters went back towards where they should normally be. Basically, Deku kind of put back everything, well, the thing on the ground, and came back out taking the spot of the parallel mind and clone. So, yeah. Basically, the adventurers arrived and started by greeting him, making small talk, asking what he's doing here, with Deku explaining that, well, he had a quest to kill a large portion of monsters, which there were more than there should have been for his C rank quest. Well, C rank adventurer raising quest. But he still did the job, and now he was basically just waiting here to see if the monsters were actually leaving, or if they were going to stay where they are right now. Well, where they were. Which he says happily that they actually left now. So he was about to go back. The two adventurers then ask Deku, have you seen a type of big marble that is bluish in color? One of our party's members was supposed to bring it to us, but actually dropped it in a river. And we've been looking around for the last week and didn't find it anywhere. Deku basically said that he didn't actually find anything like that. When he collected the cords from all the monsters he killed, he did find a few bones, but he doesn't think that's what they're looking for. Basically lying to them because, well, seeing as it is an egg, from what he understood, he shouldn't just give it to anyone. So basically, the less gentle one started telling Deku in a threatening way that if he finds it, he needs to bring it to them. It is important. Deku told them that he won't actually be finding it anytime soon anyway, since he's going back right now. It's literally his last day looking for if monsters stay here. They ask him how he can know if those monsters truly went away, with Deku saying that he is able to, well, look for the presence of other beings. Basically then saying that he was actually feeling them looking for something, but didn't want to interrupt them. As well as him needing to concentrate on the monsters to see if they truly leave. Basically telling them that if they have nothing else to say to him, he should start going. And it started raining. Oh goody. Whatever, I'm still trying to make this video as long as possible. Anyway, I won't... I should still be going back home right now. Just because of the rain. What an annoyance. Anyway. Basically, the guy who had threatened Deku tries to do it again with his adventurer buddy, basically grabbing his shoulder, telling him to calm down, and then saying to Deku that, anyway, could he try to look for it? It does have a faint life energy that comes from it, so he might be able to feel it. With Deku just saying that he can try, but if he doesn't find it, he's sorry. Basically, Deku trying to find it, knowing it isn't there, and then saying that, well, sensing an egg at the bottom from one of the other monsters that already left, and basically uses long sense as well as another ability to basically, well, clone a mini clone, sending it underwater and looking at it, and it has around the same type of shape and color, and basically then saying that he found an egg at the bottom. If that's what they're talking about, it's basically a bit bigger than they described though, but... And then telling them the specific location, just thinking to himself that, well, at least if they do take it away, that won't be my problem. They basically thank him and basically ask him if he could help them take it out. Deku tells them that, well, he can, but it would make him need to work more than what he already did. The guy who had a bad temper nearly attacks Deku, trying to threaten him again, basically going for a punch on Deku, and then basically Deku already having the egg in his hand and saying, that's what I was talking about though. Basically having the guy change the trajectory of his punch to not break the egg, and basically just kind of screaming, why did you do that? With Deku saying, oh, I didn't know you were going to punch me. It was just a joke anyway. Basically the other adventurer hitting the guy who almost attacked Deku on the head, grabbing the egg, telling him that they're going to go now. Basically saying that if it's not that one though, they're going to have to come back here and look for it, but thank you anyway for helping them. Basically they're just thinking that it has to be that one, not knowing what other beasts could actually make that, since they knew that lizard men had actually invaded that part, but they know that their eggs are fully white. What they didn't know was that there was also an anglerfish type monster that do make the same type of egg looking thing as the other monsters that the egg they're looking for, well, do. Though compared to the other monsters, the anglerfish one only has one baby per egg. So they're going to have a bit of a surprise. But yeah, basically they leave Deku alone. Deku leaves thinking, well, that was easy. And basically just thinking to himself that if he had truly broken the egg, it would not have fallen on him anyway. And his job would have been done easier. So basically he goes back to, well, the city. The adventurers who were waiting for Deku gets to see Deku. He tells the guild that every monster left to go back to their own area. And he gets raised to C rank. Now he basically tells them that he's going to not do any adventuring for about a week or so. Basically, he goes back to the inn where he stays, and basically told the innkeeper that he's going to stay in his room for a while, but that he's going to be okay. And basically, all that Deku does is actually try to find more about the egg that he does have. Basically sending some nanomachines inside of it to actually scan whatever beings are in it, and actually finding out something that is, well, he thought at first was hilarious until he realized something else. He read of those in a book, because since he said he was coming from the quote-unquote forbidden continent, he basically found as many information about that continent as possible to basically be able to hide the fact that he doesn't come from there. Which did, well, help him in 2 or 3 situations, but now helps him in another way. He knows that the monsters that make those eggs can only make one every few years. They can only make 4 in their lifetime. And normally there's only 1 per generation. And in rare cases, either another one from an older generation to, since one can be broken by accident. But normally, if it's stolen, they don't just make another egg. Nah, they go for the egg. And basically, the last place that it was sensed was on the continent he is right now. Basically, for, well, everyone, there's no odor or nothing that escapes from the egg. But for those monsters, they can feel where it was. Though the moment Deku ate it, the only thing that is left now is this extremely small presence that emanates from Deku that he doesn't know actually exists. But they're still able to feel that presence. Basically meaning that he's the target right now. Which is frightening, because the only reason that faint presence exists out of Deku right now is because the small world that he has the egg in is directly made by Deku's magic. So, through Deku's magic, the presence is felt, meaning that Deku's magic exudes the exact same presence as the egg right now. Which is extremely bad. Though all he knows is that they're going to come to the continent and basically sends some nanomachines as well as magicules which don't exude the same presence as his own magic, to basically go find out where those, beasts are. Which, the moment he finds them, a few days later, something frightening happens. He sees them in the thousands. In fact, in the egg he has, he counted the amount that could be found. And he also found out that over time they actually duplicate while growing until, well, they're going to grow in such a large number that they cannot divide anymore, which they then, well, the egg then breaks, letting them flow into, well, wherever the egg was placed, which normally is a small, well, quote-unquote water tub, which is filled with the same type of slime that is inside of the egg, produced by the parents, well, all of the species to be exact. And the tub in itself is, think of it as basically look at a car, let's say, well, basically think a big car, double that, and it's about the size that the tub has for the slime, where the egg normally opens in. The babies stop basically duplicating. Basically what it does is the DNA creates a few of them, then they duplicate just like normal cells, instead of growing themselves to make more until there's too much for the egg, which they then start to break the egg to actually go out, which the moment they are out of the egg, the small presence, well, the energy that escapes from the egg and goes inside stops being produced, basically erasing the presence itself and making a chemical, well, reaction in their body that makes them stop duplicating their cells to multiply and instead to grow in size. Which is why normally a single generation, if they all live, can go in the hundreds of thousands. Though since the size they have is, well, when they are matured, the males are about 4.5 feet in size. Basically think human-like body that is, well, they don't look like human, but the basic shape of the body is humanoid. For the males being 4.5 feet, with the female actually being a bit taller and only having around 1,000 of those that are, well, closer to 7 feet in height. So female are bigger, males are smaller. Females are in smaller numbers, while males are in a way bigger number. The males are extremely strong. The female are even stronger. And Deku right now is seeing multiple generations coming straight for the continent he is on. Which, think of it like this. For around 30 years they cannot make an egg. At 30 years they can make one. And every 30 years after that, all the way to the last 30 years where they can make a single egg before actually dying, not long after. So, basically think of it like this. 4 or 5 generations can exist at one point. Right now he is holding on to an entire generation. The last 4 generations, even those that are already on the verge of death, are all going straight for him. That's a lot. Let's just say it like that. 400 at minimum, since it's not, oh yeah, there's exactly 100 million. 100,000. There's not exactly that amount. There can be a lot more or a lot less, depending on the egg. But if you think of the average, you would have that many. And they're all going straight for that continent, which basically made Deku go on full alert mode because they will arrive in a few weeks. Well, few weeks, around 2 weeks and a half. During that time, he is about to go outside, until with his super hearing, he actually starts to hear about a group that is looking for the adventurer named Izuku. Basically, what it does is just make him think to those guys. Basically because, oh, if they think I stole the egg, which he didn't think about before, which was pretty dumb of himself, well, now they are looking for him. Which is scary, if you think about it. So, actually, the entire group that's looking for him isn't only sized at 2 people. Because literally, the guy who let the egg fall in a river was actually part of a group with around 50 members, which are all known as being extremely strong, which Deku did hear of them after he came back. But yeah, no, they were basically separated into around a few rivers to basically look for it. None of them having found them except one having that egg. So basically, the group leader basically saying, oh, he must have stolen the egg. And since they don't know that those monsters are looking for the egg, it's basically starting to get a problem of too many people going after Deku. Some that will take a while to arrive, but at the same time he cannot just erase those people from the map just because they're asking for him unless there is a reason to. Since in that world, unless something is, well, basically if you accidentally kill someone with your quirk by accidentally activating it or activating it for the first time, they do reprimand you, but they don't actually arrest you as if you were a villain. If you do a duel with someone and you accidentally kill them, or that the duel is made to be for death, nobody will reprimand you. Though the family of the person or the friends might get angry at you, but the law shouldn't actually harm you. Just like if the family of someone you accidentally killed tries to kill you, you can actually attack them if you have proof they were attacking you. Which will basically be the only way for Deku to actually end this, unless he does it in secret and make it look as if he wasn't there at all. Also, unless they're proven to be villains, or I should say thief, killers, or whatever, for that world, you cannot put a quest on the head of someone for them to actually be dead. Though you can put a quest on finding someone, though after that, if they die extremely fast after, you are the first suspect to be found. But yeah, no. So Deku basically just sends nanomachines to basically be able to locate everyone who is actually looking for him, to find out what they want. With him understanding not long after that, yeah, no, they know he has the egg, though for how it looks, they think he has the egg. Basically, a few people were told that, oh yeah, because of him we can't complete one of our quests, and we can be shown failing a quest because of someone else's greed. Though a lot of people are defending Deku, saying that, literally, he just arrived, yes, but from what everyone can see, he's in fact helping people, and sometimes even giving stuff for free, when he should be able to take them himself. Basically saying that at one point he even gave up on getting a huge amount of cash, just because someone literally had taken the same quest as him a few days earlier than him, but that he was faster. Basically, he gave them the quest items and then saying that, oh, I'm just going to take another one. With people saying what he does, and basically making him have the reputation of someone who literally doesn't care about fame, quest, or whatever. He just wants to raise in rank and live comfortably. That's literally what everyone sees it as. So when they say, oh yeah, he stole a quest item, and even though we told him about it, he didn't give it to us, they basically just see it as a complete lie. Which it actually is. He wanted to discover more about the egg, and now he knows that it's dangerous. So basically, at one point, he modified his body to basically sneak outside. Though someone did find out about him, basically knowing his exact presence. That being the guy that was about to punch Deku first. Basically saying that he has the same presence, and then those guys following Deku. With something else funny happening, which is that nearly every other adventurers who know of Deku, and who Deku helped, basically following those guys back at a certain distance to not get found. Or moving in a way that makes it look like they're just going towards the gate to make quests. In fact, some of them going faster than those guys just to make it look the same way. So basically those guys are none the wiser, and since they're already stupid, they could literally just all be following them right behind them and they wouldn't even think about it. So yeah, basically Deku goes out and starts going towards the closest town to the ocean as possible, to then start going towards the closest place where they would arrive, which is a bit further on the right compared to where he is actually going. But basically just to make it look as if he's not tempting them, because going towards empty wilderness that is literally has only plains all the way up to the oceans almost, which monsters that live on plains normally aren't that strong or to the point of requesting a C rank or even a D rank sometimes, since those monsters normally only hunt each other, and that stronger monsters don't actually go there because, well, literally all the other monsters that are there that are weaker just hide themselves to the point where those monsters don't have anything to eat, and so they go back to where they were before. So basically he made it at least look like he was going to another city, with other adventurers finding out basically pretty fast which distance those guys are able to feel from, basically understanding that they're staying on the edge of where they can feel Deku. So they basically just make a circle around that much and a bit further so that they aren't felt. And I'm ending it here compared to what I was supposed to do, because it's raining and it's getting harder and harder. So yeah, hope you liked it. If you liked it, you did. Natsu out.